China's commercial drone industry is taking off. They are used for farming, filmmaking, law enforcement, and much more. China exported 160,000 units in the first 5 months of the year. That is 70 times more than last year. Almost 99% of them were exported from the southern city of Shenzhen. A firm called DJI is the leading maker of civilian drones. It takes up a 70% market share of the world. Europe, North America are its biggest customers. The boom has created a new well-paid profession, drone pilots. They are in high demand and can make $3,500 a month in China. For more on China's investment in drones, I spoke with Scott Schober, President and CEO of Berkeley Varitronics Systems, and I asked how drones are used in China.
Especially the past 6 months, there's been a huge uptick in drone manufacturers in China. First, on the civilian side, you look at some of these companies, and they're producing huge numbers of it, especially toward hobbyists and civilian use. It's just taken off. Everybody's seen at a sporting event, drones flying over, fireworks, wherever it is. The hobbyists have really accepted it. And one of the reasons is the costs have plummeted to get these drones into the hands of the masses. And that's the kind of cool thing now. I looked out my window a couple weeks back, and the neighborhood kids had drones flying up in the air. So it's becoming your everyday thing. It's the latest, hottest toy. I'm sure by the end of this year, for the holiday shopping, everybody's going to want to have the latest drone. And the price points are under $1,000, which is getting more and more attractive. Now switch over to what China's doing on the military side. That's very different there, with some recent laws that have come into play that they've enacted as far as restrictions from shipping out militarized, weaponized drones there. And that's really drones that can exceed 1 mile as far as the altitude, and they can run for more than 1 hour. And of course, they can be equipped with different weapon systems on there. That's a very different ballgame. China's been selling to about 10 different countries these type of drones, and now there's putting some restrictions in place because they have to be very careful what technology gets out there. But the price point, again, the same thing's happening on the civilian side as in the military side. The military drones, they're selling for around $1 million. Contrast that to an equivalent drone in the U.S., it's about $30 million. Incredible value you get out of a drone from China, and the technology just keeps getting better and better. And it's going to be a huge market for them for sure.
Who else makes drones besides China?
There's a couple other countries that are dabbling in it. Certainly Israel and the U.S. are the dominant drone manufacturers as far as the most advanced technology. But China is very quickly catching up, and I think personally they're going to probably surpass the U.S. and Israel in the next couple of years. It's that quick, the development, and it's because of the computing power that they could put on these drones. They're like supercomputers, and they tie that in with surveillance and, of course, the ground-based surveillance. It's amazing capability if they're targeting people, surveilling people, whatever the case may be.
So Scott, I mean, this whole drone business isn't necessarily new, but for a lot of politicians, it's new. They don't have a way to regulate it. They don't have a way to say, okay, you can fly a drone, but you can't. I mean, there's a great debate that's happening in many parts of the world, including here in the United States, about privacy issues, specifically with drone. I'll get to the safety bit in just a moment, but privacy is a pretty big deal, and I think that is a legitimate concern. I personally would not want a drone flying around next to my house, peering through the window, and I'm sure you don't either. Is there a healthy balance of regulations that could be adopted?
Sure, and that's what they're trying to work out now. There is some restrictions there. The maximum ceiling you could fly a drone is 400 feet for a hobbyist. So you can't go higher than that. And why? Because you don't want to get into airspace. And again, you don't want to be going out of line of sight. They want to have a good visual. So if the pilot can't see the drone, then they're in trouble. So they have to be something that they could see, fly below that 400-foot limit, and obviously you don't want to fly over any type of buildings, beaches, certain parks, and you have to stay away a certain distance from airports and other things where, you know, there could be security implications and certainly sporting events. So there are certain rules and regulations that hobbyists need to carefully follow so they don't invade privacy or get into security concerns.
Very quickly, a year from now, what will we be talking about in terms of drones?
Drone prices continuing to plummet. We're going to see more and more of them widespread, being flown over different events, sporting events, observing things. They're going to be heavily used with law enforcement now. There's some talk even with law enforcement hooking up tasers to them and other things, pepper spray for crowd control or other type of riot situations. They're going to be flying around prisons in case somebody's trying to escape. We're going to be seeing drones used everywhere that we never even thought of.